What's up, it's Rob Sutton. We're gonna have some fun today playing with some audio, specifically Sonos and their wireless system. We're gonna take it everything from the Playbar to the 5.1 system, including the sub, to the Play One and the new Sonos One. Let's get started. All right, so Sonos has really made a name for themselves by doing wireless audio. The whole idea here is that every single one of these speakers is connected to your wireless network, so anywhere where you have an electric plug, you can have music. Then they take that same idea and integrate it into a system where you can actually make these speakers play with each other. Let's say you have two Play Ones in a room. You can link them together and do stereo. Or let's say you have two Play Ones, the Playbar and a sub in a room. You could do 5.1 Dolby Digital and DTS. It'll actually talk to each other and give you an all-around system, all without wires. It's something they really built their brand on, and it's something we're gonna take a look at now. So let's just start with some general specifics about the speakers and everything they share. All of these speakers have a power connection and an Ethernet connection. If you don't have good Wi-Fi in your house, but you do have Ethernet wired throughout the house, you could direct plug them into your network. Of course, I have the Amplify HD mesh router system, which you could check out in the review, linked above. So I don't have issues with space and Wi-Fi connectivity in our house. We have 5G everywhere. So all of these are just hooked up into a power outlet and then connected through Wi-Fi through the Sonos app. Sonos works with over 80 streaming services. So just about everything that you listen to can be covered wirelessly. Of course, I use Spotify, which is their best integration as far as music goes, because you can actually choose rooms from within the Spotify app, which I'll give you a look at later. Sonos also partnered with Amazon to make this system work seamlessly with Alexa. So if you have Amazon Dots, Echoes in the house, you can actually control your Sonos system through those devices. We'll get into it in just a little bit, but you can actually get a Sonos now with the Sonos One that has Amazon Alexa built into it, so you don't have to have a secondary device in the room to control your music. Another aspect to Sonos that really set them apart until recently is that you could do all room listening. One touch of a button, if you're listening to music in one room, you can turn it on in another room while keeping it on simultaneously in that room. You could also just hit entire house, and every single room that had a Sonos speaker in it would be playing the music that you had from your device or from your computer. So let's get into the details a little bit about these speaker systems and how they're built. In each of these speakers, the drivers each have one of their own Class D amplifiers. All that really means is just this full range digital. While there's a lot of marketing hype, especially like with the Playbar where they tell you they have 9 of them, there is no real advantage of that over having a single 9-channel amp. They've made a single Class D amplifier to a driver. They're able to make it basically like a self-contained unit. That opens up a lot more possibilities for them design-wise, because it makes it a more compact system. So while it sounds really cool to say there's 9 amps in this Playbar, it really is for a design and manufacturing aspect and not marketing. They just happen to spin it when you look at their website or hear their commercials. All right, so let's try to drill down some of these speaker systems, tell you what they do, tell you how they're designed, and then we'll get into the plus and minuses of Sonos and whether or not it's a good fit for you. At the heart of the Sonos system, you have the Playbar. Like I mentioned before, there are 9 drivers. There's 6 mid-woofers and 3 tweeters in the Playbar, with each driver having its own amp. For connections on the bar, you have power cable, optical cable, and dual Ethernet. That allows you to hook up a direct connection to your network and then do a pass-through to a TV or other device that needed the network connection as well. The optical connection is for the connection to your TV. So the general gist here is that anything that plays out of your TV is gonna play through the soundbar. While it's great having minimalistic connections, one of the downsides of having this soundbar versus some others is that with my LG C7 and my Harmony remote, when I turn the volume up and down, I can't see it on the screen. Because of the way you have to turn off the sound on the LG TV, you're not able to see your volume control on the screen because you only have an optical connection going from the soundbar to the TV. With soundbars that use an HDMI connection, they can pass through video from the soundbar and give you that volume control. In other cases, with other brand TVs, they also allow you to keep that display on the TV. Unfortunately, with the LG, you can't. So you're flying a little bit blind on where your sound level is, but in all reality, we got used to it and it hasn't been that big of an issue. You can mount this soundbar either wall mounted with a kit, flat, or vertical. As you can see on our mantle, we have it laying flat in front of some decorative flower looking things that my wife put up there. And the overall look of the bar looks pretty good. It doesn't look overly audio like you have something just glaring at you. And it matches the decor of the house well enough to where it just kind of blends into sight. So for this soundbar to mimic a typical center channel left and right setup, they actually put these woofers and tweeters in an array. And what they're trying to do is throw the sound from the left and right channels outward to give you more of that spread that you would get from a typical 5.1 system. Another feature the Playbar has that you actually set up through the app is True Sound, which automatically tunes the Playbar with the other speakers or Playbar by itself in your room to get the best audio. It takes care of all the timing and equalization for you. You basically take your phone, run around the room a couple of times with this beaming sound going, and it takes a bunch of measurements as you go around with the microphone from your phone. That moves us on to the Play One. The Play One is one that you're used to seeing from Sonos. Again, it works through your wireless connection. You connect it through the app. On the bottom, you have a flush mounted power cord, and on the back, you have an Ethernet connection. As I mentioned before, we're just plugging these into outlets. I don't have Ethernet wired throughout the house. We're using wireless through the entire system. On the top, you do have a couple of buttons here for play, pause, volume up and down. I rarely use those. It was really just used for initial setup through the app. Generally, I just use the app on the phone to control volume. As I mentioned before, with the Play Ones, you can sync them together and get stereo. So if you wanted to put two of these together in a room, you get stereo sound. You can also use these as rear speakers in conjunction with the Playbar. It'll recognize those in the room as left and right rear channels, and when you're playing DTS or Dolby Digital, they will act as the rear speakers in that surround sound. One thing to note though, if you do not have Dolby Digital pass-through on your TV, you will just get PCM audio, so keep that in mind. They are humidity and dust resistant, so you can put them out in the garage, basement, you can even bring them outside as long as you have a power connection. I wouldn't leave them in the rain. They don't rate them as true water resistance, but if you do want to use them outside in a controlled environment, you can do that. Playbar and the other components, you have drivers mated with Class D amps. In the Play One, you're getting one tweeter and one mid-woofer. And then that brings us to the Sonos One. The Sonos One basically takes the exact idea from the Play One and puts Amazon Alexa directly in the unit. Rumors are that you'll actually have Apple AirPlay in the near future as well. Instead of physical buttons on the top like you get with the Play One, you get haptic touch along with some lighting effects that let you know when Alexa is responding to your voice. They use a 6 microphone array with noise canceling that allows the speaker to still hear you even when you're playing music. And I have 2 of these in the house, one in the basement and one in the garage, and I can tell you that when you're listening to music, it can hear you and it works pretty well. Alexa, play. Alexa, play next song. Just a young gun. Then there's the sub. It's a unique design. You can actually use this upright or laying flat. It uses 2 drivers facing at each other, and the whole idea is they want to cancel out the vibration of the sub so you don't hear any rattling. It actually stays still. It plays down to 25 Hertz. Like with the rest of the Sonos equipment, they don't give you the full specs. We don't know how many watts each one of these Class D amplifiers is putting out, but just like everything else, you get 1 for each driver, so there's 2 in the sub. As mentioned before, everything is controlled through the app. All the setup, volume, everything. While you can configure like the Harmony remote, Alexa, and several other third-party devices to control volume and changing music, all of your setup, tuning, and everything will be done through the app on your phone. What you'll end up doing, especially when you have multiple speakers like this, is assigning them to rooms, and then when you assign them to rooms, it gives you control of each room. That can actually play music separately. While listening to TV in one room, you could have music playing in another. And then if you wanted to take the TV and beam it to every single room, which is actually great for football games if you have a bunch of people over, you could do that as well. It's also where you do any of the tuning by room. So the True Tune I talked about in the living room, or even just tuning the equalizer, changing the sub volume, all of that is handled through the setting part of the app. One of my favorite integrations is actually the Spotify app. I use that a lot for audio, and realistically, when I'm listening to music in the house, I don't open the Sonos app at all, unless I'm trying to beam to all rooms at once. I just open up Spotify, play the music I want, choose the room I want to hear it in, and you're done. All right, so let's get into the nitty gritty of it. That's how the Sonos system works, and that's what you can expect out of each speaker. How much does this thing cost? It's not cheap. The sub $699, the soundbar $699. Each one of the Play Ones are $149. You end up paying $199 for the Sonos One that has Amazon Alexa built in. Basically what that equates to is a Play One plus the $40 for a dot shoved into a case. When you add up all the Sonos in our house, that comes to a whopping $2,243 on audio in the house. So the big question is why Sonos? Why did I pick it? Our house was not pre-wired for audio. So about the only option I have that's easy is to do a wireless system. And out of all the wireless systems, Sonos was the easiest to use and the easiest to integrate. Let's go through the components and talk about it a little bit. One, while the soundbar is great, it doesn't give you a true center channel, left channel, right channel. It tries to fake it as best it can, but it's not going to compete with a true wired setup where you can actually get that spread on the left and right channels. Also, you're a little bit limited on speaker placement. You do have to have a power outlet wherever these speakers are because they require it being internally powered. With a wired system that you're actually doing through the walls of the house, you will get a better speaker placement for true surround. So in a nutshell, you're not going to get the wired speaker experience that you typically would get for a $2,500 to $3,000 system. The second is, while this sub looks really good, it's not house rattling. If you want that real theater sound or you really want that real booming bass that you're going to get from a downfiring 12, it's not happening. You can, just by the design, you can see that that's not going to be it. What it does do well is it rounds out the sound that you get with the sound bar and the satellite unit. That and the fact that it won't play below 25 hertz, it does give it a nice range. Anything below 25 hertz is pretty low, but you can see that drivers aren't that big to begin with. So even when it comes to 25 hertz play, it doesn't give you that real like chest feeling bass. What it's really meant to do is just give you a good sounding sub that plays well with the rest of the system. What this system also does well for us is it gives us audio, 5.1 audio, in spaces that aren't really great for audio. Right now we're sitting, you can even hear a little bit of the echo, we're sitting in my living room, which is where I keep this 5.1 system. It's a huge vaulted ceiling. I could spend all the time trying to wire in a great 5.1 system, but you're really just never gonna get the full effect of it because you're dealing with just too much airspace. So what Sonos does is allow us to not have to pre-wire something that would be real crazy and without the benefit. So what we're gonna personally do is wait until we finish the basement and then put our theater set up down there where it can be in a more controlled environment. For up here, the Sonos just works fine and it's good enough. The other things you do have to consider is the TV that you're using with Sonos. I picked the LG C7 because it's one of the best displays on the market. It finally replaced my Samsung 8500 that I'd been holding on to for forever. The OLED display on the LG is just nothing but top notch, especially when you have it tuned. However, you do have to set up speech delay with Sonos because if you just do it straight out of the box, when you're watching something on TV, the mouths aren't lining up with the audio. It's a simple adjustment within the Sonos app or on the TV, which I just did it through the TV, but it is something to consider. That and that you won't see volume control. So depending on your TV, there might be some limitations there as well because of just the straight optical connection and how your TV would handle transfer that audio. The other small thing for me is as much as I've integrated Sonos into the rest of the house, I would love to use two of these Play Ones as speaker components for my computer. Your computer sees these as Wi-Fi devices in the house, but you can't set them up as a stereo connection for gaming or for editing or anything like that. So I end up having a separate speaker system just for the computer. If there was some kind of way to have just like a little wireless dongle that would tie it into the rest of the system, that would be really easy. They do make other components that you could probably fake it, but they're also really expensive. So really just a little plug and play that would tie it in and call it a room would be a nice addition. So what do I really like about this system? One, like I mentioned before, anywhere with the power outlet, you can now have audio. The nice thing is it's not through Bluetooth, so if you get a phone call, it doesn't kick off your music. It's controlled completely through your home network. The other thing is this system is incredibly modular. You could get a Playbar, run that for a while, then add the sub, run that for a while, and then decide you want surround sound and add 2 cubes. If I want one speaker in my garage, I've got one right there in my toolbox. It allows you the ability to just add a little bit at a time. That works out very well for people that don't want to put the entire investment up front, and you just kind of add to rooms as you go. When you factor in the fact of how expensive it would be to actually wire this house for audio now, since it wasn't built with it, this ends up being a deal over doing an in-wall speaker setup after the fact. Also, out of all the speaker systems, the Sonos really kind of look the best. These are going to be visible in your house, especially if you're using them in multiple rooms. And while I love the sound of most audio systems, they're really not designed to integrate into your room. I remember when Bose came out with those cubes a long time ago. As much as I hate Bose, they were in tune to the fact that people were trying to integrate audio into their house without it looking like you're in a theater room in every room you go into. So when you have very simple setups like this, that I even like better than anything out of Amazon's camp, or even more than that little Apple speaker, these really integrate into the house nicely with multiple colors, multiple sizes. You can make it easy to integrate into your room without upsetting the overall decor of the room. Also with the Sonos app, this thing is incredibly easy to set up. It's really a one-touch operation on most of these speakers, and to get them linked up, to do the true sound, all of it's incredibly simple. They put a lot of investment in the software in this system, so just anyone can do it. You don't need a professional installer to come to your house and set all this up. Literally plug, open the app, set it up, done. So who is this really for? If you need easy setup and you want some quality sound, this is great. It integrates with all the third-party stuff we have, Alexa, multi-room listening. The problem is that you pay for the convenience. It is a higher price than you're gonna pay from a wired setup or even some of the cheaper wireless setups out there. But what you won't get is the heavy software integration and everything else that Sonos delivers. So would I like a little bit better sound quality out of a system that costs this much? Absolutely. But that's the trade-off with the ease of use. All right guys, so there's my Sonos review for everything from the Playbar to the Sub, the Play One, and the Sonos One with Alexa integrated. If you have any questions I didn't answer in this review, please hit up the comment section and I'll get those answered for you. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you thought it was junk, give it a thumbs down. And as always, please subscribe to the channel for more reviews like this. And until the next one, see ya.